continuing coverage of Hurricane Ian, which is now downgraded to a tropical storm and is on the move after leaving a path of destruction in southwest Florida. The storm trapped people in homes and flooded large parts of the region. Ian came ashore just west of Fort Myers as a Category 4 storm with wind speeds high enough to make it the fifth strongest hurricane to ever hit the U.S. Christian Bienvendes reports from Orlando.
Jacob! Some Good Samaritans in Bonita Springs, Florida jumped into action, rescuing an elderly man trapped in his car in rising floodwaters. Scenes like these somewhat common as Ian roared into southwest Florida with a vengeance as one of the most powerful storms ever to hit the U.S. This morning, Ian is still churning its way across the state after making landfall yesterday as a Category 4 hurricane with 150-mile-per-hour winds. The streets and the sea became one and the same across the region, like in this neighborhood near Naples.
It's been that surge that has been the biggest issue and the flooding that has resulted as a result of that. In some areas, we think it's hit 12 feet.
This woman from Kissimmee says she was afraid she might drown inside her home.
The water was so deep, I had to swim in order to get to safe ground here.
You had to swim?
Swim from the house to halfway down the street to get to Napa.
In Tampa, strong gusts sent this traffic light crashing to the ground. Even though the storm has weakened, the danger certainly has not passed. The National Weather Service warning as the storm moves north and east, there's the potential for significant to catastrophic flooding in areas like here in Orlando. The Orlando airport began canceling all flights yesterday until further notice, stranding some passengers.
Now we're just gonna kind of hang out until Friday.
Nearly 100 search and rescue crews from South Florida are on their way to the hard-hit West Coast, bringing with them rescue dogs to help locate any missing or lost family members.
And while the disaster unfolds across Florida, we are getting a clearer look at just how hard Hurricane Ian hit Cuba, where power is still out to millions. Guad Venegas reports.
In Cuba, the scope of Hurricane Ian's wrath is now visible. Towns are unrecognizable, buildings and homes completely flattened. At least 2 people died and thousands are homeless, like this family, now traveling on foot looking for somewhere to stay. As people try to find shelter, crews are trying to restore electricity after a national blackout late last night. The electric grid, overwhelmed by damage from the storm, left the entire country in the dark.
The electric company says they're making repairs as fast as they can, but just look at the devastation. Multiple poles torn down one after another as far as the eye can see.
We traveled to one of the hardest hit areas where Zenaida and her family live with 4 children and a newborn. Now they have no water, no electricity, and no home. Their house is buried under this wreckage. For now, their neighbors are taking them in.
Buenos días.
Maximina lives here. She says the little she had was destroyed, and she's worried it could get even worse.
Her biggest fear is that the structure falls apart now. He says this is about to fall. And with this type of devastation all across the most affected province, Pinar del Rio, the effects of Ian here are going to be felt for a long time.
And in Puerto Rico, residents and community leaders are concerned not only for themselves after the hurricane last week, but also for the older population of seniors on the island who are mostly still without power and fresh drinking water. Our Francis Felix takes us there.
Tired and upset by the lack of electricity and drinking water in several of the 8 communities in and around the Caño Martín Peña in San Juan, residents of the area make a demonstration in the Martín Peña Bridge to claim both the government as well as Luma Energy and the Aqueduct and Sewer Authority action to restore essential services in the area where many older adults live. A large group of residents of the communities demanded the activation of the components of the government, public corporations, and Luma Energy to restore the service in an area whose energy infrastructure was not significantly damaged after the passage of Hurricane Fiona. The greatest concern of the community is the situation experienced by older adults in the area who do not have electricity or drinking water, since fires have been registered in the community due to the use of candles. A residence in the Bitimul neighborhood in Barrio Obrero was completely burned by an incident with a candle where a mother and a son died. Puerto Rico deserves better. We need a dignified and trustworthy electric service. We are here for the ones who do not have service, said Lucy Cruz, president of G8 community in written statements. The community of Canteras with the 8 communities have a total of 23,000 to 24,000 residents. Community leaders point out they have seen sporadically Luma energy brigades, but there are still many pockets without electricity service. Reporting from San Juan, Puerto Rico, Frances Felix.
All right, thanks so much, Francis. And we do have continuing coverage in Puerto Rico today as the island continues to recover from Hurricane Fiona. Puerto Rico's Congresswoman Jennifer Gonzalez took to the floor on Wednesday, sharing the devastation Hurricane Fiona left behind on the island. She says roads, bridges, and other infrastructure have been damaged or destroyed by the heavy floods and landslides. And as we've been reporting, once again, the power system crashed and the island was in a blackout. Gonzalez adds that Fiona essentially wiped out their agriculture industry.
The agricultural sector that was expecting finally the first normal productive year after the devastation of Maria, lost everything again. We lost 90% of our agriculture in plantains, bananas, and many others. And back to square one. I mean, across the land, Lares, Patillas, Ay Bonito, Guanica, mostly small or family farms, now at risk of simply never coming back.
And Gonzalez Colon encourages her fellow members of Congress to visit the island and to see the devastation for themselves. She's asking FEMA and the USDA for additional help in recovering and rebuilding the island following Hurricane Fiona. And switching gears now, the government of Barbados will soon have the potential to access more than $300 million to aid in the country's economic recovery and climate resilience efforts. It was revealed on Wednesday that Barbados was not only entering a new extended fund facility arrangement with the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, but would also be benefiting from the Resilience and Sustainability Facility. Barbados is the first country in the world to reach agreements to access the IMF's Resilience and Sustainability Fund. Prime Minister Mia Mottley stressed the need for Barbados to continue to seek financial help from the IMF. She noted the assistance is on generous terms.
That is what this IMF program is about. That sometimes we take the assistance that we need in order to propel us. And we're not only doing the enhanced fund, extended fund facility, but we're also doing the Resilience and Sustainability Fund, because that money for the first time is 20-year money. It's a 10.5-year moratorium. In other words, break it down, you're not paying nothing for 10.5 years, so you got time to catch yourself. Was the first thing I'm doing instead of when they're under pressure. Give me a little chance to catch myself, no? But once I catch myself, I know I can do what, be able to do what is being asked of me. And that is what that money does. Thus far, the IMF has been able to get contributions and special drawing rights to help fund that. I think it's 40 billion that you've received. But we are making the case for more because we know that that is not enough.